Good morning from Lille. Welcome to the Interreg Europe webinar series dedicated to the ones who are preparing the project application within the second call of proposals. This week, we are organizing 4 webinars on different topics related to the project development. We will cover how to prepare the successful project partnership. We will talk about the project methodology tomorrow. On Wednesday, we will be talking about the finances, management, budget, and we will finish this week with the Thursday's webinar on project communication. Today it's only Monday, and that's our first webinar of the series, and we are talking about how to build a successful partnership. Let's have a look to today's agenda. During this webinar, we will cover 2 important topics. We will talk on how to build a relevant partnership. It means what and how to do it. We will afterwards have the live Q&A answer session. Then we will watch a second video, building the relevant project partnership, and we'll talk about who should be involved. And then we'll have another a Q&A short session, and we'll end our webinar. My name is Irma Astrauskaitė-Deni. I'm head of communication unit, and today, together with me in the studio, we'll have a coordinator for projects, Hassan Martinez. Good morning, Hassan.
Good morning, Irma. How are you? And good morning, everyone.
I'm very well, Hassan, and really excited to start all this week and to meet indeed our maybe future project partners, the ones who are now considered as beneficiaries, are working on the project applications. And I'm really glad that today, together with you, we will cover the project partnership topic. Is it your favorite topic, Hassan?
Yes, it's true that partnership is the most important, one of the most important elements when you are building a successful application. It's important to choose who you want to cooperate with, and also to keep in mind that if the project is approved, then you will have to work shoulder to shoulder with your partners during 4 years. So yes, it's for me, it's the most important topic of the week.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Hassan. Together with us today in the studio, indeed, because there are some people everyone can see in front via the cameras like me and you, but we also have other colleagues involved. And together with us today, we have Laurencio, our colleague from the policy officer, who will be answering the questions via on the Slido in written. And in order indeed to ask the questions, you need to go to the slido.com and enter project development, and you will have a screen where you should submit as questions. And we want to encourage with Hassan that you do it and you are active, because it's indeed an occasion for you to ask any question related to the project partnership. Today, if you have topics, questions related to the other topics, you should indeed address them during the dedicated days, because then we will talk about those topics, and there will be also colleagues that are the experts of the topic in the studio. Behind the scenes, we also have communication team, Mia, Petra, Josephine, and Julie, who are here helping with the tool to run this webinar. And I would like to thank you for their support and to introduce them to you. Now, as you know what is our agenda, you know also how to ask the questions. I think together with Hassan, we are curious indeed to know more about our participants, and I can see that there are over 130 people that are with us today watching this webinar, and we would like to launch a poll. So soon you will have a pop-up on your screen, and we would like to ask you, how are you already involved in interregional cooperation? There are 3 answers we propose to you. The first one is, yes, I'm involved in cooperation projects, means that you already were a project partner in one of the Interreg Europe projects or even beyond. the second answer is yes, through other type of collaborations or initiatives. This can cover our policy learning platform. And as you know, the policy learning platform, it's a service we offer in addition to the project, where a team of experts are producing various thematic content, webinars. We also offer the peer reviews. We can offer the matchmaking session. So basically, it's a service. If you have a challenge, you can contact our team and of experts, and they with your question describing your challenge, and they might be able to propose you already solutions, existing solutions that come from the Interreg Europe projects or even beyond. And if you already benefited from this initiative, you can choose the second answer, yes, through the other type of collaborations or initiatives. And the third one is not yet. Yes, I can see that. I think it's kind of stable. We can close the poll and we can check to the results. Hassan, are you ready to see the results, to see if our participants already have experience in interregional cooperation? And as you can see, 31 of the ones attending today's webinar say, yes, I'm involved in the cooperation project. 15 already were involved in other type of collaborations and initiatives, and 54% of all participants of today are not yet involved in any interregional cooperation. Do you have any comments on that?
It's nice to see that we have so many people that have never been involved in Interreg Europe, and the program is waiting to welcome them to join the projects that will be approved in the second call, and also for those that are involved in cooperation and they are involved in other type of collaboration to open this opportunity to know our program, see what we do, which is interregional cooperation, because maybe those that are involved in cooperation are coming from the cross-border or from the transnational programs, and it's also for them the first time that they will work in interregional cooperation in Interreg Europe.
Indeed, Hassan, I think it's very important that all our participants made their way to our webinar and to this important topic we are covering today about the project partnership, because it's very important indeed to get the information from the Joint Secretariat, which is based on all information we provide in the program manual, so that it can help you to prepare your project application in the best possible way to avoid any shortcomings, and that your application would be brilliant, and the ones who will be assessing could not find any shortcomings. And let's hope that this webinar will help you to answer all the questions related to the project partnership. So now it's time to do two things. First, to remind you that you can ask your questions via the Slido, slido.com/project development. And with this information, I think we are ready now to start watching our first video about building a successful partnership, relevant partnership, and to answer to the questions on what and how it should be done, how this partnership should be constructed. So let's watch a first video, which should last about 10 minutes.
Hello, my name is Eilish. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to build a relevant partnership for an Interreg Europe project. I'm going to cover two topics. The first, how to identify the common challenge that will be addressed through your project. And the second is how to identify the policy instruments and the improvements that will be made to those instruments thanks to your project. So looking first at the common challenge addressed by your project. You need to identify the overall regional development issue which will be examined by all of the partners. For instance, this might be supporting innovation delivery policies in the Industry 4.0. Maybe you want to look at supporting small and medium enterprises in the tourist sector. Perhaps the common challenge will be developing soft mobility in your region. Or maybe selective waste management is the topic that will be addressed by your project. Whatever it may be, it is important that this issue can be described in each of the regions involved in the partnership. And this is called the territorial context. It is important to be as specific and focused as possible when developing your application form. And this is very true for the issue addressed. If you provide a description that is too vague, it is difficult for us to see how the partners can learn from each other. For instance, imagine that the objective of your project is to improve natural and cultural heritage management. It's not so clear for us what kind of heritage is in question, and we have no understanding of the environment that is affected. However, if we take another example, which is looking at the preservation of military or medieval heritage in mountainous regions, it is very clear for us what kind of heritage is concerned, and we can imagine very well the mountain regions where this challenge is based. So be specific when identifying your common challenge. Looking into the application form, in section C, you will need to describe this common challenge in the field Issue Addressed. Make sure that the information you provide is coherent with the specific objective that you will select in section A. It's also important that it matches the policy instruments in section D. So we will be looking for coherence between all of these sections. You will have to explain why this issue is important for European regions in another field. Please provide data and statistics to support your description. Finally, you will need to describe how this project contributes to the cohesion policy or other European strategies or plans. So all of these fields will allow us to have a clear picture of the issue addressed. Next, if we move to section D in the application form, you will have to describe how this issue is reflected in each of the partner regions. This is the territorial context. So you will have to describe what is the state of play of this issue in the territory covered by this policy instrument. What is the challenge that needs to be overcome? This is an important section as it allows us to understand the motivation of the partner in joining this Interreg Europe project. So again, please be specific, concrete, and provide facts and figures to justify your description. Next, let's look at how to solve the common challenge that you've identified in an Interreg Europe project. For this, we will have to talk about policy instruments. So what is a policy instrument, you might ask? If you look into the program manual, you will see the definition. In short, a policy instrument is a means of public intervention. It refers to any strategy, program, or law developed by the public authorities and implemented in the region to tackle a specific issue. In many cases, there are financial resources allocated to the policy instrument, but this is not always the case. So you will need to identify the policy instrument that will be addressed by each of the partners. A policy instrument may be an investment for jobs and growth program. By this we mean the European Regional Development Fund or the European Social Fund programs. Or it may also be any other local, regional or national strategy that deals with this issue in the region. It's important to note that every project must have at least one investment for jobs and growth program selected. This is indeed an eligibility criterion. And what is unique about Interreg Europe projects is that every project focuses on improving the policy instruments of the participating regions through exchange of experience. So these policy instruments are really at the heart of your project and the application form. Looking into section D, you will have to describe each of the policy instruments addressed. There is a field dedicated to the name of the policy instrument where you can mention, for instance, the title of the operational program if that's the policy instrument you will address. You will also have a drop-down field where you need to select yes or no if your policy instrument is investment for jobs and growth. You will also need to identify the geographical scope of the policy instrument, whether it applies over a local, regional or national territory. And importantly, you will have to select how the authority responsible for this policy instrument is involved in the project. That might be directly involved as a partner or perhaps also involved as an associated policy authority. You will hear more about this in the second part of the video from my colleague. You will also have to describe the main features of the policy instrument. By this we mean the objectives, the characteristics or the measures addressed by your project. Again, be specific here so that we have a clear understanding of why this policy instrument is the right one to address. So once you have described the policy instrument that you will address, we need to understand how this policy instrument will be improved thanks to the project activities. So let's talk about the type of results that can be achieved. There are 3 types of results possible when improving policy instruments. The first is new projects. The policy responsible authority may decide to launch a new call for proposals or to approve a new project that wasn't financed before under this policy instrument. The second type is changing the governance of the policy instrument. The authority may decide, for instance, to introduce new indicators in the monitoring system or to change some of the selection criteria for funding new projects. The third type of improvement is changing the instrument itself. By this we mean changing the content of the policy instrument, the specific thematic issues that are covered. So these are the 3 types of improvement that we would expect to see coming from your Interreg Europe project. Looking into section D of the application form, you will need to describe what kind of policy improvement is envisaged for each policy instrument addressed. There is a drop-down menu for each of those 3 types, and the partner will need to select yes or no if this type of improvement applies. There is also a free text field where this improvement needs to be described in more detail. We've come to the end of this first video about building a relevant partnership. We looked at how to identify the common issue tackled by your project, how this is really core to building your partnership and selecting the right authorities. And we also looked at how to identify the right policy instruments and what kind of improvements should be aimed at. In the next part of the video, my colleague will talk about who should be involved in Interreg Europe projects, the policy responsible authorities, and who else can support the activities, the stakeholders. I invite you to watch this video and to learn more about building a relevant partnership. Thank you.
So we just watched the first video about building a successful partnership, and it's our former colleague Eilish who talked about issues addressed, how to identify the issue of the project, and also how to link it with the policy instruments and to describe them well in the application form. I can see that there are some questions in our chat, and soon we will be taking those and answering together with Hassan. I also saw some comments in our webinar chat asking if the presentations and the webinar and videos will be available. Indeed, the answer is yes. This webinar is recorded, and few days after we will be sharing the full recording. So if you want to share it afterwards with someone and really to have the videos and also the interaction, the live Q&A, you will be able to rewatch it. And also on our website, we have a specific section where we'll be publishing project development videos. So some of you might really go back only to the videos we are showing today. Those will be published on our website, and you also can rewatch them. So do not worry. I mean, and also presentations will be published. So the presentation, the ones we use indeed in the videos, will be published. So it will be easy for you to follow and to check once you are filling your project application. Now, Hassan, are you ready to answer the questions?
Yes.
Great. Okay, then let's have a look to some questions we have. I can also see that some of them are related indeed to the second part of the video, where it's you who will be talking indeed who should be involved. So those we will be answering later after we watch the second video. But now let's tackle the questions that are related to the first part of the first video. Bogdan is asking, it is not clear what is the definition of the policy instrument. Could you clarify and explain what is the policy instrument?
Yes, Bogdan, this is a very important question in the sense that we usually tell our project applicants that they should start by thinking about what are the policy instruments that they want to improve. You can find the definition in the program manual. It's any means of public intervention. Since the program is addressed to public authorities, a policy instrument can be an ERDF operational program, a local mobility strategy, a law, a support program to SMEs, a cluster initiative. So all these are examples of policy instruments that can have also a different geographical scope. You can have policy instruments that work at the local level or policy instruments that are relevant for the regional level. I'm thinking, for example, in innovation about a smart specialization strategy. This can be considered a policy instrument as well. So the term is quite broad. But it has to be a means for public intervention. So something that is implemented in the territories to improve a situation. And again, it can take different forms, but usually it's this, a strategy, a law, a program, an initiative that is supported by a regional or local public authority.
Hassan, at the very beginning of this webinar, I was saying that all presentations, all what is talking is based on the information we have in the program manual. And I know that you are now talking, answering to the questions, but on the table you have this program manual. Could you show it to everyone how it looks like?
So this is our program manual that you have the PDF online, you can print it. Usually here in Lille, we all have our copy of the program manual where you can have the answer to all the questions that you might have on the program. So I was seeing before that some of the explanations go too fast in the video. You can also not only rewatch the video, but check this document where you have all the main answers to your questions.
Okay, so now everyone knows our secret, where we are finding all the smart, indeed, answers to the smart questions. Let's have a look to the other questions we have. And there is a question of Benoit, who is asking regarding the question of multiple involvement. Should we indicate all Interreg Europe projects that organizations are involved? For example, Interreg Europe projects from 2014, 20, 21, 27 first call, and Interreg Europe 21, 27 second call. Thank you in advance for the answer.
Yes, Benoit, I think that you need to put the projects, the applications, and the projects that you are involved in the current program. So 21, 27, meaning if you are already involved in the first call approved projects, you need to mention them. And also, if you are involved in other applications for the second call, you need to also mention them and to try to explain how this application will be different, or to ensure that you have the capacity, administrative capacity, financial capacity to be involved in several applications. Our recommendation is always to try to be as focused as possible and not to be involved in too many applications, because usually this penalizes when we see organizations that are involved in 10 applications. We don't find this serious in the sense that even though for some organizations that are big, they can be involved in 2, 3 applications. Usually we prefer, since we are again trying to not to finance the same partnerships over and over again, to give the opportunity to new regions, new organizations to discover the program and to cooperate with other organizations in Europe. For the projects that you mentioned here, Interreg 2014-2020, it's important to mention this for the innovative character of the application, how your project is different to other projects that might have been funded under the same topic in the past. But for this second call, in this multiple involvement, it's only needed that you mention if you are involved in first call projects and which applications of the second call you are also part of.
Okay, the question from Julia. In the same project, is it an issue to mix policy instruments from different geographical scopes, like local with national?
Julia, not at all. You can have different policy instruments from the local level, from the regional level, even for some territories, the national level also could be relevant for the cohesion policy, for the regional development policies. So the important thing is that the issue addressed is shared by all the partners, that you have a need to solve in the different territories. But of course, it's possible to mix different geographical levels in the policy instruments address.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Theo is asking, how can more than one type of policy instruments be envisaged for the same policy instruments?
Yes, Theo, this is possible. As Ailis was mentioning in the presentation, when you fill in the application form, when you describe your policy instrument and you describe what type of improvements you plan to achieve thanks to the cooperation, you can select one, two, or the three types that we mentioned in the presentation. So new projects, change in the management of the policy instrument, or a structural change. So you can select one, two, or three, explain how you plan to achieve this change. And then also, of course, if the project is approved and you selected, for example, I think that I want to improve my policy instrument by financing new projects in the topic of urban mobility, for example, this doesn't prevent you from achieving other types of changes once the project will start and will be implemented. But for the application form, you can select one, two, or three. There is a multiple choice in the sense of the types of improvement that you can achieve.
Thank you, Hassan, for this answer and clarification. Now we will take the last question related to the first part of this webinar, and then we will be watching a second video. So the last question sounds as following. Regarding multiple involvement, what is the recommended maximum number of applications an organization can be involved in? And is there any recommendation?
Well, yes, as I mentioned before, it depends very much on the type of organization. We always say that if you are a big region, you are the regional government of a big region in Europe, and with different departments, with different areas, you can be involved in several applications. If you are a very small organization, usually implement a project is not easy. You need the resources, the administrative capacity. You need to avoid the risk of double funding. So we would recommend that that you focus in the application that really, in the topic that really address the problem that you want to solve in your territory. And our recommendation is to be involved in as few as possible. So one would be the ideal situation. We understand that some organizations, they are involved in one or two. In any case, we want a clear justification why you are involved in more than one application, and to demonstrate that you will be capable of doing so if both applications are approved by the monitoring committee.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Hassan. I can see there is a question from Francesco who posted in the webinar chat. Is the application form from Interreg Europe filled through the funding and tenders portal? Indeed not, Francesco. Interreg Europe has its own system called Portal, where the online application has to be filled in. And seeing this question on the webinar chat, I would like to ask everyone to send your questions via the Slido. It's just easier for us to manage and to have the overview of all the questions, and afterwards to share them via our website or other tools. Okay, and now, as promised, I think we are ready to watch our second video, and I can see that already many participants of today's webinar are really curious to see and to find out to know who exactly, what kind of organizations, policy responsible authorities we are talking. So who should be involved in the Interreg Europe project partnership? And Hassan in this second video will be also presenting the stakeholder groups that are also very important for the Interreg Europe project. So let's have a look to this. Let's watch now the second video.
Hello, my name is Jason, and in this second video I will cover two topics: who to involve in your project partnership, the policy responsible authorities, and who else, the stakeholder groups. So let's start with who should be involved in our project. So Interreg Europe is about policy learning. The main objective of a project is to improve the policy instruments of the participating regions, the policy responsible authorities. These are the organizations in charge of the elaboration and delivery of a specific policy. This is the core target group in Interreg Europe, and they have to be involved as partners. For at least 50% of the policy instruments addressed, the partners have to be the policy responsible authorities. This is very important for you to keep in mind because it's an eligibility criteria. If the policy responsible organization cannot be involved as a partner, then they must participate in the project as an associated policy authority. They will be officially included in the application, in the partnership section. They don't have budget. It will be the partner financing their travel and accommodation costs to be involved in the project activities. They will have to sign a declaration during the application stage, and their involvement will be regularly monitored during the project implementation. Another policy relevant organization from the region must be involved as a partner. This is very important. Here in the screen you can see the template of the declaration. This is what the associated policy authority will have to sign, where they will confirm that they are responsible for the policy instrument address, that the topic tackled by the project is in line with the scope of the policy instrument, that they will engage in the stakeholder group and participate in the project activities when possible, and finally that they will consider the possibilities for implementing the lessons learned from the project through their policy instrument. What are other criteria that you need to keep in mind when selecting partners? We think that it's important to select partners based on their competence and experience. You need to keep in mind that Interreg Europe is about learning. It's about learning from each other, exchanging experience. So you need to select your partners taking this into consideration. It's also important to involve regions with different levels of development and from different geographical areas. And this is also an eligibility criterion. You need to involve partners from the 4 areas that you see in the screen, from the north, from the south, from the east, and from the west. So where do we see this in the portal when you are writing and filling in your application form? You see in the screen that section D.1.2, addressing partners. There you would need to assign to each policy instrument the partners that are linked to it. This is the case for every partner, except for the advisory partners, which do not address any policy instruments. They are there to support the whole partnership through a specific competence or knowledge. Also in section D.1.2, you will need to explain for every partner what is their involvement in the policy learning process, paying particular attention to the specific issue addressed by the project, and also describe what is the partner contribution to the project, what they will bring to the cooperation and what they will benefit from. And this you will have to do for every partner. It's a little bit different for the advisory partner because they are not addressing any policy instrument. Finally, who else should be involved in our project? And here we talk about the stakeholder group. This is a group which includes organizations that are relevant for the issue addressed, that are important in the policy-making process, and we should create one group of stakeholders per policy instruments. They are involved in the exchange of experience process, they participate in the project activities, they don't have budget, their budget is covered like with the associated policy authority by the partner, and their composition of this stakeholder group will vary according to the issue address. But usually this is the main type of stakeholders that you will have in the group, the type of organizations that will participate in the project. Of course, the first is the associated policy authority, but then you can have development agencies, SMEs, NGOs, networks, clusters, and also research and technology centers. This is reflected in the portal, in the application form, in section D.1.3, stakeholders, where you will add one by one all the organizations that will be part of each stakeholder group created per policy instrument. And finally, here we would want to show you an example of a possible partnership with the policy instruments, a stakeholder group, the policy relevant authorities, the associated policy authorities. So in the example, you see that we have a partnership with a project, an application that will work on policy objective 1, a smarter Europe, a specific objective 3, sustainable growth and competitiveness of SMEs. And here we have partners from 4 different countries. So as you can see, it matches the eligibility criteria that we have to have partners involved from the 4 geographical areas. We have Italy from the south, Sweden from the north, Poland from the east, and France from the west. So the 4 areas are included in the partnership. You can see also the policy instruments address, the Regional Operational Program ERDF for the Italian partners, the National Program on Business Creation for the Swedish partners, also the Municipal Support Program of Business Startup in Poland, and finally for France, again the Regional OP. So they are addressing 4 policy instruments. 2 of them are investment for jobs and growth programs. So this complies with the eligibility criterion that at least one of the policy instruments addressed has to be an investment for jobs and growth program. What do we have as partners? So in the case of Italy, we have 2 partners addressing the same policy instrument. We have the Puglia region as lead partner, together with the Regional Development Agency. For Sweden, we have the Ministry of Economy. For Poland, we have the Poznan City Council. And for France, we have the Regional Association of Incubators. You can see in the image that for 4 of the policy instruments addressed, the policy responsible authorities are involved. This is the case of Italy, Sweden, and Poland. And for France, the regional association is not the policy responsible authority, so they have to bring the associated policy authority, which is the Normandy Regional Council, who are responsible for the regional operational program. And finally, as you can see, so we meet in this case the 50% of policy responsible authorities involved in the project. We even go a little bit beyond that. And finally, for each policy instrument address, you can see the stakeholder group with different organizations from the participating regions. So now you know how to build a successful partnership, who to involve and who else to involve in your application. We hope that this was useful for you. Do not hesitate to contact us if you have any question. We are there to help you in preparing a successful application. Thank you very much.
So we watched the second video and Hassan explained and gave a very good example. Indeed, I really love this table where you show an example on how the project partnership should be built, covering the 4 zones, also explaining how the project partner should be linked with the policy instruments and also what is the role of associated project partner. As we are now back, I suggest that before we go to answer the questions, we can check and we can launch a poll and check how our participants, webinar participants, indeed, what do they think about the requirements? In the video, Hassan, you talked about 2 requirements. One of them was that 4 geographical areas have to be covered. And the second was about the necessity to have the policy responsible authorities involved in the project. And the question to our webinar participants is, which partnership requirement do you find the most challenging to comply with? Is it that you need to have involved the policy responsible authorities, or is it the obligation to have partners from 4 geographical areas, or maybe none of above is challenging to build the project partnership? I can see that everyone is still answering to those questions, so we'll wait a little bit before we close the poll. Yes, we can see that the last answers, I think, come in. Already 62% of all attendees answered to the questions, and I've chosen the most challenging, one of the challenges. Great. I think we can close the poll and see what answers we have. The question sounded, which partnership requirement do you find the most challenging to comply with? And we can see that 61% of the ones who answer to the question say that necessity to have policy responsible authorities on board is challenging, and others say that obligation to have partners from all 4 geographical areas is challenging. And for 5%, they say that any of those is the challenge for them. Hassan, maybe you would like to comment and to explain why those 2 important partnership requirements are important indeed for the program.
Yes, Irma, I think that the answer depends a little bit on what type of organization you are working for. So if you are working for a public authority, probably it will be more difficult for you to find partners from the different areas in Europe, because most probably you will work with a specific area. It depends also on your experience in European territorial cooperation. If you have mainly working cross-border or transnational, it might be difficult for you to find partners from a specific area. I think that the organizations that say that it's difficult to find other regional or policy responsible authorities is mainly because they are not policy responsible authorities themselves. So it's difficult to think about, these are not the usual organizations that you work with in other type of European projects or in other type of cooperation projects. So it depends very much on the type of organizations you work for. In our experience, and we saw this in the first call, we think that with the requirement of having 50% of policy responsible authorities, now we get the type of partnerships that the program is looking for. Again, we need to keep in mind that this is a program addressed mainly to local and regional public authorities, the ones responsible for implementing the policies, because the objective of the program is to improve the policies in the different territories. So I would say that the policy responsible authorities are there, are really part of our projects and of our partnerships. And yes, sometimes it might be difficult to find partners from the 4 areas, because we might have difficulties in looking for partners in an area that is not traditionally our space of work or of cooperation. But both elements are quite important. Maybe the most important one is to have really the right partners on board, and to try to look for partnerships that are mainly formed by policy responsible authorities.
Indeed, Hassan, as you are saying that Interreg Europe program's objective is to improve the policies, we need to have the policy responsible authorities on board. And as the Interreg Europe program, it's indeed the cooperation for Interreg Europe to make sure that there are no clusters related to some specific area, and it really covers the very bright coverage. There is an obligation to have the partners from 4 geographical areas. Great. Thank you for the ones who answered to this question. It's really great to see that our webinar participants are really active, and they also submit many questions via the Slido. So let's have a look what questions we have on Slido. So, Hassan, the most popular question, because on Slido you can not only submit the questions, but you can also vote for the questions, the ones you want to put forward or the ones you want we answer first. And the most popular question now is the question of DESI, and 4 people voted for it. And it sounds as following. How does the no more than 1 region involved per country rule apply to advisory partner? Is it possible to include a city and an advisory partner from the same country, but from different not 2 regions?
Let's see. Yes, this is possible. What we say, and I have the program manual here. You will see in page 27, we have some recommendations about the partnership and about the budget. And usually what we ask our applicants is to try to follow the recommendation of the program. And if this is not the case, to provide that justification. You need to keep in mind again that we are an interregional cooperation program. We cover all the 27 partner states plus Norway and Switzerland, and we want partnerships as wide geographically as possible. So the rule should be one region per country. Now, if you have an advisory partner from the same country, the role of the advisory partner, you need to keep in mind that is to support the whole partnership. So, for example, if you have a partner from Emilia-Romagna, the regional government of Emilia-Romagna is involved in the partnership, and together with this regional government, you have a university that is the advisory partner for all the partnership. This is okay. It could also that the university is supporting only the regional government of Emilia-Romagna. So in principle, it's possible, but we count the advisory partner also when we see that the partnership needs to be balanced in terms of different areas of Europe involved. And of course, on the budget that we provide to the different countries. So be careful and try always to keep the basic rule of one region per country, and if not, to provide an explanation in the application form.
Hassan, Francesca is asking, what is a recommended size for the stakeholder group?
Well, I think that in the application form, in the first call, it was limited to 10 organizations. This does not mean that during the project implementation, you can involve new organizations. But usually I would say that you select the most relevant organizations in your region that contribute to the policy instrument address. And you need just to list the ones that the application will allow you, which is usually 10, which again, in the future, you can involve, you can change. Some of them will be more active in the specific moments of the project. So the stakeholder group is quite flexible. We don't have a specific recommendation in the sense of the size. Sometimes at the beginning, you have a big involvement from different organizations, and then towards the end of the project, you because of the type of changes that you want to have in your policy instrument, only a few of them become more relevant. But in principle, yeah, I would say around 10 organizations per policy instrument and per region. That should be the normal size of a stakeholder group.
Another question. For tackling the investment for jobs and growth program is it or to have a respective managing authority as stakeholder in the project? Do they need to sign a declaration?
Yes, this is the case where the partner will not be the policy responsible authority. They will be addressing an ERDF program or an ESF program. And because they are not the policy responsible authority, they will need the managing authority as an associated policy authority. So they will need to sign the declaration and they will need to participate in the stakeholder group. Now in the application, there is a specific section in addition where we ask every semester how the associated policy authority has been involved in the exchange of experience process. But most importantly is that the fact that this managing authority signs a declaration and is part of the stakeholder group, is not enough to demonstrate the policy relevance of the partner. So if you are a university, for example, and you have the managing authority as an associated policy authority, probably you will pass the eligibility. But when we go to the qualitative assessment, to see exactly what is the capacity of the university to influence the operational program, by experience, we see that usually universities do not have the policy relevance to influence this type of policy instruments, and usually policy instruments in general. So it will not be enough to have the managing authority as associated policy authority, because the partner needs to demonstrate also that they are relevant, that they can influence, that they are part of the governance and the decision-making process that affects the policy instrument address.
Mm-hmm. Our next question is indeed related with the question you answered before, but maybe you can clarify and it's more specific. Our agency would like to support a city municipality to address the challenge in a transnational partnership under Interreg Europe. We are from the same city. Can we join the project as partner with municipality from the same city?
Yes, this is possible. You have the municipality who is the policy responsible authority, the ones that will improve the policy instrument address. But together with the municipality, you bring the agency, because the agency is the one that in a way implements parts of the policy instrument in the city, or they provide the technical support to the municipality, and they come together with the municipality, together as partners, addressing both of them the same policy instrument. For us, as long as the policy responsible authority is involved in the partnership, they can come with another organizations that for them is relevant in the topic addressed by the project, and because they support the authority, the public authority, in the design and implementation of the policy instrument address.
Thank you, Hassan, for clarifying it. Our next question sounds as following. What would be a good way of encouraging a potential partner who is a local authority to become involved? They may not be in a regional mindset and may not see the benefit.
Yes, this is a really interesting question. We know that for some organizations, some local authorities, that they don't have experience in European cooperation, it might sometimes be difficult to convince them to be involved in this type of projects. What we need to show them is that all the evidence of success, all the benefits that cooperation brings to the territories, and at the end of the day, to the citizens of this municipality, by opening up the way we do things to improve a situation and see what other things have worked in other parts of Europe. As we usually say, not to reinvent the wheel, but to copy and try to bring to our area things that have proven successful in other parts of Europe, and to show them that usually cooperation has a lot of benefits. Sometimes we also recommend maybe to the municipality to start with using some of the services of the policy learning platform, by requesting a peer review, by being involved in some of the, bringing the policy responsible, the policy makers to some of our events, or to be involved in the policy learning platform activities, to in a way start this interest in, and to see what the benefits of cooperation can bring to this to our municipalities or our regions.
We have another question. Does the involvement of associated policy authorities count towards achieving the 50% rule?
Well, usually the rule is you need, for 50% of the policy instruments, the policy responsible authorities on board. And for those that do not bring the policy responsible authority, they need to involve these organizations that are owners of the policy instruments as associated policy authorities. So it's a different thing. When you have 50% of the partners that are policy responsible authorities, the other 50% have to be associated policy authorities. So there are two different things, meaning that you can have 60% of policy responsible authorities in a partnership of 10 partners. You have 6 policy responsible authorities and 4 partners that are not policy responsible authorities, the 40%. And the fact that they comply with the eligibility criteria, that 50% have to be policy responsible authorities, doesn't mean that the other 40%, if they don't bring the associated policy authority, they will also be not declared eligible. So you really need to pay attention to this. There is 50% for the policy instruments, policy responsible authority involved. For the rest, has to be through an associated policy authority. And sometimes we have problems of applications that have not been eligible because one partner says that they are policy responsible authority, they are not, and because they don't bring the associated policy authority, the application is declared ineligible.
Yes, so it's something really to pay attention. Now we move to our next question from Anna Maria, and she's asking, what about the involvement of private partners in project consortium? Would it be possible? Which way do you suggest to participate?
Well, private organizations are not eligible to our program as partners in the projects, but you can involve private organizations as members of the stakeholder group. You have a big company in your region that is doing research and innovation in the area of, I don't know, smart food or health, technologies for health or for the aging, and they are very important. The way they work in the territory to contribute to the cooperation. They can be part of the stakeholder group. They can participate in some of the project activities, but it's the partner who is financing their travel and accommodation to participate in these activities. Other than this, it is not possible to involve private organizations in the partnerships of Interreg Europe projects.
Question from Benoit. I could see it was on the top and then a bit going down. So now I think it's a good moment to take it. Coming back to the issue of multiple involvement, how can the lead partner be sure that some of the partners are not hiding that they are involved in other second call applications? What would be the consequences? As for the first call project, is there a list of beneficiaries available on the program website?
Well, a partnership is based mainly on trust. As I was mentioning before, you will work with these organizations during 4 years together to learn from each other. So you need first, if you are the lead partner and you are preparing an application, you need to check with them to ask them directly if they are involved in other applications. If they say that they are not, and then when the assessment will demonstrate that they are, probably the lead partner will consider this as a lack of trust. We asked them, they said that they were not involved in other applications, and in fact they are, and then it might be the lead partner's decision not to continue working with them because there is a lack of trust. So I would ask the partners or the organizations that I want to involve in my project to be transparent and to mention, because the fact that you are involved in more than one application, it does not penalize as long as it's explained. As I said before, we are a big region, we are a big city, we are involved in different projects that are in different topics, and this is totally fine. There is a clear justification. But our advice would be ask your partners if they are involved, because in fact, there is a section in the partnership part of the application form where we ask, are you involved in other applications? Please explain which ones. So already there is kind of a commitment from the organization to be transparent and to explain what is their involvement in the second call. As for the question on the list of beneficiaries, I think that there is a list, of course, that is published on the website with all the organizations that are part of the approved projects in this case. So I think that you can check this in the program website.
Indeed, yes, Hassan, and it's called List of Operations, and it can be easily found at the very bottom of our website. There is a gray block with useful links, and it indicates a list of calls, the list of operations for the past period, and list of operations 2021-2027. So if you click on this link, you download the Excel file, and indeed it lists all the partners of the first call approved project, and this is indeed in this list. Afterwards it will be updated with the other calls, so it's very easy to find on our website. And I think as Benoit knows our program, he probably is eager to know when he knows that Interreg Europe is hosting the project websites, and I'm sure he's curious to know when the first call projects will have their websites running. This will happen indeed in the upcoming months, so very soon also it will be possible to learn in details about the projects we co-finance as all this will be part of our website, but there is still some development work ongoing, and it will be live in a few months. Now, other questions. We still have 30 minutes. Our webinar will run till 11:30, and there are some questions that participants are asking us to answer. For example, Francesco is asking, is it common from public-private partnerships to form public-private partnerships in such projects? Hassan.
To be honest, I don't know how to answer this question. In principle, we don't see public-private partnerships created in our projects. The partnerships are created by organizations that are either public equivalent bodies or private non-profit, but usually we don't see these PPPs created in our projects for what is the project implementation. Maybe if you can detail a little bit more the question, you can always send the question more detailed through the program website, and then we will be able to provide a more detailed answer.
We have a question that sounds as following. Is it right? Stakeholders do not get financing from the Interreg Europe. If this is right, what is the benefit from stakeholders to invest time in such a collaboration?
Well, usually the stakeholders, they get funded through the travel and accommodation, so they can participate free of cost in the activities of the project. Again, the stakeholders are not the main beneficiaries of the project activities. They are important. They are in the region. They have to discuss with the public authorities, with the policy responsible authorities. But it depends. For some stakeholders, it's because they want to also learn from other stakeholders in the other European regions to establish other types of cooperation with other organizations. So again, as I was mentioning before, some stakeholders will only participate in 2-3 meetings during the project lifetime, and others will be much more involved because they do have an interest in supporting the regional or local authority in implementing the project. But this depends very much on the organization, the type of issue that you want to address, etc.
Another question we have, can the project leader be a university if it is not responsible for the policy instrument? The municipality responsible is also a partner, but not the leader.
Yes, it can be, as long as they come with the municipality, of course, because if they don't, they will need to demonstrate their policy relevance. And in experience, we know that universities usually are not relevant to improve the policy instruments in the territories. But if the university comes with the regional government or with the city, again, as I was mentioning before, to support the municipality with the project management of the project, this is of course possible, yes, and provided also that the university has the status of public equivalent body. It cannot be a private university, for example.
Irene is asking, how can the participation of the advisory partner in different proposals be justified in the application? There is no specific section to do so since advisory partner does not address any policy instrument.
Well, I think that you need to explain a little bit also when you will fill in what are the competences of the advisory partner, to be, again, transparent and to say we are advising in this project for this topic, but we are also in these other 2 applications, which are working in different topics where other departments will be involved, where other colleagues will participate. So it's always possible to provide a short sentence in the application form that will give us the information that you are transparent, that you explain clearly if you are involved in more than one application and why. Probably again, it's because it's a different topic. Even if it's in the same topic, you will need to explain that you have again the resources and the capacity to be involved in more than one project. But even if it's briefly, you should mention it in the part dedicated to the advisory partner.
Hassan, do all the members of the stakeholders groups have to be part of all the activities, meetings, and exchanges of the project?
Not really. As already mentioned, some stakeholders will be actively involved in the project activities, other less. One stakeholder will, for example, go only to one study visit because it's interesting for them, or because they have been implementing the good practice that will be exchanged in the meeting, and then outside this interregional event, they will not participate in any other interregional events. Others will mainly meet with the partners in the region at local level once every 6 months. So this is up to each region to organize how they want to design their exchange of experience, not only with the stakeholders, but also with the associated policy authority, which is part of the stakeholders as well.
Okay, now I think everyone can hear me well. Hassan, before taking the next questions, I would like to suggest that we launch a poll and we ask our webinar participants how advanced are they with the project partnership. Do they have it completely at partnership? Are they still missing a few partners, or they are still looking for relevant partners? What would be one of those three answers that maybe they correspond most your status of today, searching, building your project partnership? Do you have it completely? Do you still miss, or you are still looking for some relevant partners? I can see that everyone is really active in answering this question. Yes, I think now we can close the poll and we can see what answers we got. We can see that 17% have a completed partnership. 24% say that they are still missing a few partners, and 60% they are still looking for relevant partners. Any tip, Hassan, you would like to give for the ones that are looking for relevant partners?
Well, I think that in the website they can publish their idea. There is this partner search function. They can also participate in some of the events organized by the program. Also check the projects that the program has already funded in their topic of interest. In each project website, there are the list of partners involved in this project with the contact details, so they can, I'm working, for example, in entrepreneurship or in energy efficiency, and there are these 10 projects working on the same topic. Which were the partners that were part of this project, from which areas? Maybe we can contact them to see if they would be interested in joining a new project. Use the networks that you are part of. There are many European networks that of regions, of local authorities that you can also address to look for partners. There are different ways, of course. But it's important that you close the partnership as soon as possible, because as I mentioned, is the core element of a successful application, to have the right partners on board, to have the policy responsible authorities, and well, there is not too much time left until the call closes. So yes, put all your efforts in finding the right partners for your application.
Thank you. Thank you, Hassan. I think you summarized it very well, that our website indeed contains a lot of contacts. We have about 8,000 people registered to the Interreg community, and for sure it can be of inspiration to find some relevant partners. But what I liked, what you pointed out, there were a few other points. It's about the time, and also to check the networks that organization already knows that are related with the project topic. Because during our last event, a live event in Stockholm, we interviewed some of the first call approved projects, and indeed we asked them how did they find the project partners, and are there any tips they would like to give to the ones who are preparing the project applications. And those were the 2 points raised by them. Always to think about the time and not to postpone to the last minute, because the last month really finishes runs really fast. And the two organizations we told that it was very helpful for them to activate their current networks and to ask maybe those organizations know someone else, so that they could find the project partners easily. And I think, Hassan, you told also very well that not to postpone till the last minute. If this is not yet done, you should hurry up. Now,
sorry, Irma.
yes,
I wanted to add to what you just said, that also the national point of contact are sometimes very important to find potential partners, because they receive requests sometimes at national level, and you can find information for your country, who is the organizations that is responsible for the national point of contact. They organize also national events. They also support applicants. And this is also another way of finding potential partners in specific areas that your partnership might not have covered yet.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Hassan, you added. And to find information about who is your contact point in your country or in specific country where you are looking for project partner, for example, you can easily find this information on our website. We have a section in your country, and there you click, you find the relevant contacts. And by the way, the same like community, you can search for partners choosing different filters, and one of them is also a country a filter. Okay, I think now we can move to the last round of the questions that were submitted. Let's see what we have. There is a question. After handing the project proposal, how long will it take to receive the official result if the project is accepted or rejected? Very good question.
Yes, usually there are two steps. The first one is eligibility. So you will see in the program manual that there are different eligibility criteria. This is the first step of the assessment of your project application. And this usually takes 2-3 months. And then if you are eligible, then you go to the strategic assessment. If you are not, then you will already be notified that your project has been declared ineligible, and then we will not do any further assessment of the proposal. For those applications that pass the eligibility step, usually the results come in, let's say, around 6 months after the call is closed. If the call will close in June, we hope that by the end of the year, you will be informed if your project proposal has been approved by the monitoring committee or not. But again, this will depend also on the number of applications that we will receive in the second call. But yeah, let's say that by the end of the year, hopefully you will get an answer if your application has been approved or not.
Another question we have, is it possible that the project coordinator is not the policy owner?
Yes, it's possible. We put the previous example. You have the regional government, that is the policy responsible authority, and together with the regional government, you have the agency. The agency is not the policy owner, but they are the ones implementing the policy instrument in the region, and they can be the lead partners of the application, of course. Yes, it's possible.
Francesco is asking us, okay, there are a few questions, so we'll take them maybe together. Then I will go to the question which stands now. First on the list is creating a strategy on greening the public transport at the region level with a focus on if energy efficiency can be considered investment for jobs and growth.
Not really. An investment for jobs and growth program is defined. You have the list in the program website. These are usually operational programs of the European Regional Development Fund or of the European Social Fund. And then again, we are not here in the program addressing strategies that do not exist. You need to put a policy instrument that is operational in the area, in the city or in the region, that is already approved, that has a duration that will cover at least the duration of the project. So we usually do not accept policy instruments that do not exist yet. So when you describe in the application form the issue that you want to address and the policy instrument that you want to improve, it has to be a policy instrument that is in place, that already exists, and that is experiencing some difficulties in achieving some of the goals for which the policy instrument was designed for. But again, what we consider investment for jobs and growth, this is part of the cohesion policy. These are the structural funds, operational programs, ERDF and ESF, and you can find the list per country in the program website.
Victor is asking, what is a policy responsible authority? What if the policy responsible authority does not want to be involved neither as partner nor as associated policy authority?
Then you need to look for another partner. You need to change the policy instrument. There is nothing we can do. I mean, you need the policy responsible authorities involved either as partner or as an associated policy authority. If they don't want to participate, then unfortunately, you will have to look for another policy instrument with a different policy responsible authority and try to convince this organization to become part of the project, either as partner or as an associated policy authority.
Francesco is asking, do you have to present a list of risks of your project, like a SWOT analysis, a risk management strategy, and finances to budget, buy an insurance, establish an audit program in the application form? Does this all need to be described in the application form?
No, you don't need to describe a risk management strategy in the application form. What we ask you is to provide details on the territorial context. What is the issue addressed by the project? Why there are issues on mobility in your city, or there is a low investment in research and innovation from the companies in your area. And this would be what is the situation, and through the cooperation, how you want to improve the situation. But there is nothing related to risk management in the application form. Sometimes when we talk about multiple involvement, this is also what we want to avoid, that there are organizations, small organizations, that they are in too many projects and that they don't have neither the administrative nor the financial capacity nor the human resources to participate in so many applications. And there is a risk that usually we highlight during the assessment.
Hassan, is it possible that NGO is a project coordinator?
Usually private non-profit bodies cannot be lead partners of a project. So no, it's not possible.
Next question. Our project idea is likely to involve protected areas authorities only, since they are in charge of planning at local scale. Can they be considered enough as policy responsible authorities since they plan the issues on which the project is focused, agricultural activities within the parks?
Can they be considered enough as possible? Well, usually what we say, if they are public, you mentioned here the term authority. So it's a public authority, and they are responsible for these protected areas. Usually what we say is that to make sure that the organization that you involve in your project is indeed the policy responsible authority, you need to check this with the national point of contact. It's the national point of contact, the one responsible for confirming that this organization can be considered policy responsible authority. And this is very important because sometimes we have declared some applications not eligible because an organization claims that they are policy responsible for a specific policy instrument. And then when we check with the member state, they say, no, in fact, they are not policy responsible for this policy instrument. And unfortunately, we have to declare the application ineligible. So in case of doubt, is the role of the national point of contact to confirm if this organization can be considered policy responsible authority or not.
Yeah. Francesco, and question about the private-public partnerships. We already, Hassan, you answered to one question related to this, and now it's clarification. By public-private partnerships, I mean collaboration between public stakeholders and private stakeholders of any kind. Is it common to find such collaborations, or is it something rare? If they are common, can they be exploited without too many problems, I guess?
Well, we need to think about what, it's not clear again, Francesco, sorry, your question, because collaboration between public stakeholders and private stakeholders, we don't finance this type of collaboration. The stakeholders are part of the project activities at regional level because they are in the discussion together with the policy responsible authority. They can participate in some of the project activities, but the program aim is to improve policy instruments, and we don't finance this type of public-private partnership. So in the framework of an Interreg Europe program, I would say we don't see what would be the objective to create these PPPs in our program, in our projects. This is something that we don't finance, and that is not part of the usual project activities that the projects carried out.
A few more questions left for us to answer. One of them, in the case you mentioned, the leader of project is the agency that implements the policy, which is not the policy owner. The policy owner should be still involved in the project, right?
Yes, totally right. Either as partner or as associated policy authority. When they are involved as an associated policy authority, then the agency would need to demonstrate their policy relevance, that they can influence the policy instrument address. If the policy owner is involved as partner, then there is no need to demonstrate the policy relevance of the agency because you already have the policy owner as a partner. So this is the main benefit to have always the policy responsible authority involved as partner, because when they are not partner, they have to be associated policy authority, but this does not demonstrate the policy relevance of the partner, of the agency in this case. So our advice would be always to have in the partnership the policy responsible authority.
Hassan, a question of Anna, very important. The 50% rule does not involve the associated policy authorities, right?
I understand that this is sometimes a little bit tricky to grasp. The eligibility rule is related to policy responsible authorities, but it's connected in a way because you need at least 50% of policy responsible authorities involved. For the rest, you need the associated policy authority. So if you only comply with the 50% rule for policy responsible authority, the other 50% of the organizations need to bring the associated policy authorities. So think always that the 50% rule applies to policy responsible authorities. At least you need half of the policy instruments, you need the policy responsible authority in the partnership. For the rest, you need the associated policy authority. And if you are not policy responsible authority, and you don't bring the associated policy authority, the application is also declared ineligible. So both elements are very important.
Hassan, participants are asking, where can one find the exact regions that are eligible for submitting a mutual application?
All regions are eligible in principle. We don't think about you mean, I don't fully understand the question, meaning that usually you need to think in terms of organization. Who will represent the region in your project? Is it going to be a municipality? Is it going to be a region? Is it going to be a ministry? Is it going to be a province? We don't have a list of regions. All the 27 member states are eligible, plus Norway and Switzerland. And there you have all the NUTS2 regions that are involved that are part of the European Union. So I don't fully understand the question. We don't have any list of exact regions eligible because we talk in terms of organizations, not in terms of regions. And each organization is representing one region.
Our last question, in the framework of the program concept, regional also includes city local approach, right?
Yes, totally right, because we define region in a broad sense. It's a territory that is represented by a public authority. So it could be a municipality, it could be a region, and in some cases it could be even the country, because there are some countries that are quite small and the relevant organization works at national level. So yes, when we talk about region, we talk about a territory that can include, of course, the local level. So you can have a project only with municipalities. You can have a project of 10 cities working together to improve the support of cultural policies. And you will only have the local level exchanging among each other.
Okay. Hassan, I see still some questions coming, and let's take the one we see on the screen, because it's true. It's a very good opportunity for our webinar participants to get answer to their questions. And the question sounds as following: in what capacity or form can private organizations like Special Economic Zone participate in the project? They would be needed to make necessary policy changes?
Private organizations can only participate as stakeholders when they are for profit. A private not for profit organization can be involved as partner. But again, if they don't come with the policy responsible authority, they will need to demonstrate their policy relevance, so how they can influence the policy instrument address. So private, it depends if you are for profit or non-profit. If you are non-profit, you are eligible to the program and you can participate as partner, as an advisory partner. If you are for profit, then you can only be involved as a stakeholder, because you will not be eligible to be a project partner in Interreg Europe.
And one more question, again, very important and right to the point about the project partnership. Can we invite partners from UK on their own costs?
Yes, it's possible to involve partners from other areas as long as they cover their own costs of participating in the project.
Thank you very much, Hassan, for answering all those questions live. We can see that you really mastered the topic of project partnership, and thank you for being with me in the studio. I would also like to thank you to all our webinar participants, and now you can see on the screen that we ran a poll to give a feedback for this webinar. In the upcoming days, we run other events, and this would help us to see what we need to improve. Before I communicate the last details, I also saw that on the chat there were two announcements trying to build the partnerships. Savonia University of Applied Science from Finland were inviting everyone who joined this webinar to connect with them through the Interreg Europe community or LinkedIn. And also University of Warsaw Biological and Chemical Research Center from Poland was interested to connect with the potential project partners, and also were saying that feel free to connect with them via the Interreg Europe community or via LinkedIn. So if you are interested, do not miss your opportunity to connect with those two organizations. Then, talking about the project development and the online tools on our website, in apply section, look for funding section, you have a list of project development online tools. We have a check project relevance, a very simple tool where you can answer to simple questions and check if your project is relevant to Interreg Europe. You can also, in the second section, get inspired. You can see approved projects and project ideas. By clicking share your project idea, you can share your project idea with the others if you are looking for other potential project partners. And there you can also find partners, a direct access to our community where you can search for project partners, organizations organizations according to their interest. It means topic, country, and other search options we offer for you to find the project partners easily. Ask for feedback. Hassan, maybe you would like to comment on this option because it's also very, very relevant tool we offer to the ones who are preparing the project applications and have already developed and mature project idea.
Yes, the Ask for Feedback service allows you, once your application will be mature enough, so more or less the partnership is close, you have selected the policy instruments that you want to improve, you know more or less what type of activities you want to implement in the project. Once you have published your project idea, when you ask for feedback, we will ask you to complete additional information, and then we will be able to provide feedback to the idea. We will explain if the idea fits in the program rationale, what points you need to pay attention to, and this feedback can be done either through written feedback, so we send you a small report about your project idea, or we can have an online conversation of 40 minutes together with a policy officer and a finance officer of the program. You can also ask budget questions. And we think that this is a very important step for successful applications, to check that everything has been taken into consideration, and to improve those elements that we will tell you, look, pay attention to this, the policy relevance of this organization is not fully clear, or this policy instrument is not clearly defined, or this type of activities, remember to define what you will do in the core phase and in the follow-up phase. So we would like to encourage you to use this service, not wait too much, because usually 2-3 weeks before of the closure of the call, it might be still okay, but if you wait a little bit more, it will be too late to get the feedback and to be able to incorporate the changes or the suggestions that we will make to you. But we've seen that usually projects using the Ask for Feedback form have higher chances to be recommended than others that never check with us if the idea fits and the different points that we usually take into consideration when we do the strategic assessment of the applications.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Hassan. I think the message is clear. If you want to get feedback on your project idea, you should hurry up and to submit it now, as soon as possible. And then the last section, it's apply for the call, where you have an all summary about the call, terms of reference for the call, the links to the most important documents, and also the list of our upcoming events. And those are, this week, I mentioned that we run, it's a week of lead applicant webinar series. Today we were talking about successful partnership. Tomorrow we will be talking designing project methodology. Wednesday, finances, and on Thursday we will finish the week on talking about communication. To register to those webinars, you need to register to each of them. And in addition to our webinars, we also run the live Q&A sessions. It's an hour where you can register and you submit your questions in advance. And during this hour, then our colleagues are present in the studio like we are today and really take any questions possible that come during that week. And the upcoming sessions are on the 5th of May, on the 17th of May, and on the 2nd of June. With this, I would like to invite once more to register you to the other webinars this week and to spend this week together with me, because I will be every day with you, welcoming my colleagues in the studio. For today, to conclude today, I would like to thank you to Hassan. Thank you very much, Hassan, for answering the questions live. Thank you very much to Laurencio for answering the questions in the chat. Also to other colleagues that were present, Josephine, Mia, Petra, Julie, for all the support. you gave to us today to run this webinar. And thank you very, very much to all the active participants for all your questions submitted. We wish you a nice day and hope to see you in our upcoming other webinars dedicated to the project developers. Bye-bye and have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.